As we descend into the deep ocean, we enter a world ruled by its own laws, most of them stranger than anything you'd imagine. Teeth glow, bodies vanish, and hunger never sleeps. And the largest migration in the history of this planet happens every single night. But we didn't know about it until submarine crews in World War II detected something impossible on their sonar. A false floor, rising at sunset, sinking at dawn. It wasn't the ocean bottom, it was life. Billions of creatures moving through the darkness in a rhythm as old as the oceans themselves. The deep ocean covers more than half of our planet's surface. It's the largest habitat on Earth, and we've explored less of it than the surface of the moon. Down there, in the crushing blackness where sunlight never reaches, evolution has written a completely different rulebook. Teeth glow to become invisible. Animals live for 400 years by barely moving. Fish have developed eyes that point straight up through transparent skulls, and male fish permanently fuse to females, becoming nothing more than a bag of reproductive cells attached to her body for life. This is the deep ocean, and the rules here don't make sense. To understand why the deep ocean is so strange, you need to understand what happens as you go down. At the surface, the ocean is everything you'd expect. Sunlight, warmth, fish you'd recognize, coral reefs and kelp forests, and whales breaching in golden afternoon light. 90% of all marine life lives here, crowded into a thin, bright layer at the very top. But drop below 200 meters and that world ends. The light starts to die. Colors drain away, first red, then orange, then yellow. By the time you reach 300 meters, everything is blue, a deep, cold, fading blue. And you've entered the twilight zone, the mesopelagic. Here, the sun's rays are too weak for plants to grow. The great blooms of phytoplankton that power the surface food web don't exist. There's no green, no photosynthesis, just a dim glow that gets weaker with every meter you descend. And this is where things start to get strange.
The twilight zone stretches from 200 meters to 1,000. It's a world of perpetual dusk, too dark for plants, but light enough that shadows matter. And shadows are dangerous. Any creature swimming through this zone casts a silhouette. From below, predators look up and see dark shapes against the faint glow from above. Easy targets, perfectly outlined. So, animals here have evolved two extraordinary solutions. The first is to become invisible. The glass squid drifts through the gloom with a body so clear you can see straight through it. Only its eyes, large and tubular, give any hint that it's there. The glass octopus is even more ghostly, almost entirely transparent, rippling through the water like a living phantom. But transparency has a problem. You can make your body clear, but your stomach? That's harder. If you've eaten something bioluminescent and almost everything down here glows, your gut lights up like a lantern inside your invisible body. The bloody belly comb jelly solved this. It has rows of tiny beating hairs that refract light into shimmering rainbows. Beautiful, but not bioluminescence. That shimmer is just reflected light from whatever's illuminating it. The real trick is its stomach, deep red, almost crimson. Red light doesn't penetrate the twilight zone. It gets filtered out near the surface. So down here, red,
appears black. The comb jelly's stomach is invisible, no matter what glowing prey it's digesting inside. The second solution is even stranger. Instead of hiding from light, some animals use light to hide. Counter-illumination. They cover their bellies with light-producing organs called photophores and glow. But not randomly. They match the exact brightness of the light filtering down from above. They tune themselves to the background. From below, their silhouette disappears. They become invisible not by going dark, but by producing just enough light to erase their own shadow. The firefly squid is covered with hundreds of tiny photophores that it can control individually. It adjusts its brightness in real time as it moves through different light levels. It's not just glowing, it's calculating. But the strangest eyes in the twilight zone are the fish that looks like it was designed by a fever dream. The barrel eye. Its head is completely transparent. A fluid-filled dome, like a fighter pilot's cockpit, covers its skull. And inside that dome, two large tubular eyes point straight up, scanning for the silhouettes of prey above. Those eyes contain a special pigment that filters out bioluminescence. The barrel eye can see through the counter-illumination tricks that other animals use. It's not fooled. It watches from below, motionless, waiting for a shadow that isn't quite perfect. When scientists caught barrel eyes in nets, the transparent dome was always destroyed. For decades, nobody knew it existed. It was only when submarines filmed them alive that we saw what they really looked like. Drop below 1,000 meters and the last traces of sunlight vanish completely. You've entered the midnight zone, the bathypelagic. Here there is no dawn, no dusk, no seasons, just permanent, absolute darkness. The temperature hovers around 4 degrees Celsius. The pressure is crushing. 100 atmospheres at the top of this zone, 400 at the bottom. And yet, this is where some of the ocean's most fearsome predators live. The fangtooth is only about 15 centimeters long, but it has the largest teeth relative to body size of any fish in the ocean. Those teeth are so big they can't fit inside its mouth. When the jaws close, the fangs slide into special pockets on either side of its brain. Its entire head is covered with pressure sensors that detect the slightest movement in the surrounding water. In total darkness, it doesn't need to see. It feels the water shift when something swims nearby. The viperfish takes a different approach. It hangs vertically in the water column, almost motionless, with its mouth open and its needle-like teeth invisible in the black. Its teeth are made of crystal nanostructures so small that light passes through instead of scattering. They're practically invisible, even if you could see down here. Along its belly, rows of photophores glow softly. Not for camouflage this time. There's no light to match. This is a lure. Anything curious enough to investigate those lights swims straight into a cage of transparent fangs. But the most famous hunter of the midnight zone is the dragonfish. Most deep-sea creatures produce blue or green bioluminescence. The dragonfish produces red. This matters because almost nothing down here can see red light. Their eyes never evolved to detect it. There's no red light at these depths, so why would they? The dragonfish has essentially invented a private wavelength, a searchlight that's invisible to everyone except itself. It sweeps that red beam through the darkness, illuminating prey that have no idea they're being watched. Some species even have red photophores under their eyes that they can aim like headlights. Hunting with invisible light. In a world of total darkness, the dragonfish can see everything, and nothing can see it coming. Not everything in the midnight zone is a predator. Food is scarce down here. The only consistent source is what scientists call marine snow, a slow, continuous rain of organic debris drifting down from the sunlit waters above. Dead plankton, fecal pellets, fragments of decaying flesh, mucus from filter feeders, all of it sinking, slowly, through thousands of meters of dark water. To us, it looks like nothing, tiny particles barely visible in a submarine's lights. To the creatures here, it's everything, the foundation of the entire ecosystem. The vampire squid has built its whole existence around collecting this falling debris. Despite its terrifying name and its dark cape-like webbing between its arms, it's not a predator at all. It has two long, retractable filaments covered with sticky mucus. It extends them into the water and lets marine snow accumulate, then brings the filaments to its mouth and scrapes off the particles. The vampire squid lives in what's called the oxygen minimum zone, depths where oxygen levels are so low that most animals can't survive. But the vampire squid has blood with the highest oxygen binding capacity of any known cephalopod. It can thrive where others would suffocate, which means less competition for the falling snow. Sometimes something larger falls. A whale dies at the surface. Its body sinks. For days, weeks, it drifts downward through the water column, through the twilight zone, through the midnight zone, until finally it hits bottom. A whale fall. Within hours, scavengers appear. Hagfish, sleeper sharks, amphipods by the thousands. They strip the flesh in a frenzy that can last months. But that's just the beginning. After the soft tissue is gone, a second wave of life moves in. Bone-eating worms called osedacs, bone devourers in Latin, drill into the bones. They have no mouth, no stomach. Instead, they grow root-like structures into the bones and host bacteria that digest the fats locked inside. A single whale carcass can support an entire ecosystem for 50 years. Generations of creatures are born, live, and die on the bones of one dead giant. In a world where food is measured in falling particles, a whale fall is a jackpot, an oasis, a city that springs up overnight and lasts half a century. Below 4,000 meters, the midnight zone ends and something else begins. The abyssal plain. This is the deep sea floor, a vast flat desert of mud and sediment that stretches for thousands of kilometers in every direction. It covers more than half of Earth's surface, more territory than all the continents combined. No landmarks, no coral reefs, no kelp forests, just endless mud, formed from millions of years of marine snow settling and compacting. In places, it's over a kilometer thick. And here, in this seemingly empty wasteland, live some of the strangest creatures on the planet. Giant isopods scuttle across the sediment. These armored crustaceans look like pill bugs scaled up to the size of footballs. They're scavengers, eating whatever drifts down. Dead fish, whale carcasses, sometimes just the mud itself. The flapjack octopus hovers just above the sea floor, using its webbed arms like a parachute. It drifts over the mud, delicately sifting through it, searching for worms and small crustaceans. If threatened, it can jet away with surprising speed, but mostly it just floats, conserving energy. The sea toad has taken adaptation even further. This fish has lived in the abyss so long that its fins have transformed into something else entirely. Feet. Stubby, finger-like legs that it uses to shuffle across the sea floor. It doesn't swim, it walks, slowly, patiently, waiting for something edible to come within reach of its enormous mouth. Down here, speed is a luxury no one can afford. Metabolism slows, hearts beat slower, animals grow larger and live longer than their shallow water relatives, a phenomenon scientists call deep-sea giantism. Why does this happen? We're not sure. One theory is that larger bodies retain heat better in the near-freezing water. Another suggests that with fewer predators, there's less pressure to stay small and agile. A third points to time itself. When you live for centuries and grow continuously, you simply get bigger. The Greenland shark embodies this principle. It lives at crushing depths in Arctic waters, grows longer than a great white, and can live for over 400 years. 4 centuries. A shark born before Shakespeare wrote his plays might still be swimming in the deep right now. When time moves this slowly, the rules of life change. Not everything in the abyss is a solitary hunter. Siphonophores drift through the deep in chains that can stretch over 40 meters, longer than a blue whale. But here's the strange part. A siphonophore isn't one animal, it's hundreds. Each siphonophore is a colony of genetically identical organisms called zooids. They're clones, connected to a central stem, but specialized for different tasks. Some zooids pump water for propulsion. Some sting and capture prey. Some digest food and distribute nutrients. Some produce eggs or sperm. They function as a single entity, but they're made of individuals that could theoretically survive on their own. It's like if your heart, your stomach, and your muscles were all separate organisms that just happened to be fused together. And because they clone themselves, because they can keep budding new zooids to replace damaged ones, siphonophores might be effectively immortal. One specimen observed by researchers was estimated to be 50 meters long, the longest animal ever recorded. Drifting through the darkness, neither fully one creature nor many, on a timescale we can barely comprehend. Some siphonophores, when disturbed, do something remarkable. They shed portions of their colony. Entire sections break away and drift off, still alive, their zooids still functioning. Is this defense? Reproduction? Self-sacrifice? We don't know. The fragments sink, separated from the main colony, and we're not sure if they survive or simply die. In the deep ocean, the boundaries of individual existence get blurry. What counts as one animal? Where does life begin and end? These are questions we're still trying to answer. The giant phantom jelly is one of the largest jellyfish on Earth. Its bell can reach over a meter across. Its arms, not tentacles, but thick ribbon-like arms, trail for 10 meters through the water. Dark red, almost purple, it drifts through the midnightzone like something from a nightmare. But here's what makes it truly strange. Those arms don't sting. Most jellyfish capture prey with stinging cells. The phantom jelly enwraps its prey. Those long, curtain-like arms envelop victims and draw them up toward the bell, where they're engulfed and digested. The phantom jelly has been found as deep as 6,700 meters, well into the hadal zone. It's one of the deepest living jellyfish known. And it's not alone down there. It has a partner. A small fish called the pelagic brochula lives in association with the phantom jelly. It hides among those massive arms, sheltered by the jelly's bulk. In return, it picks parasites off the jelly's surface. The two have been seen together repeatedly. Studies suggest the brochula can actually find its way back to its partner if separated. Its body is lined with specialized sensory organs that detect the low-frequency vibrations created by the jelly's pulsing bell. A fish and a jellyfish, partnered in the darkness, drifting together through the void. The Dumbo octopus lives even deeper. Named for its ear-like fins that flap as it swims, it's the deepest living octopus known, found as far down as 6,000 meters. At those depths, pressure can be 600 times what we experience at the surface, the equivalent of 50 jumbo jets stacked on your body. But the Dumbo octopus doesn't seem to notice. Its body is soft, gelatinous, mostly water. Water can't be compressed, so being made of water has advantages. It floats through the abyss, flapping those little fins, steering with its webbed arms, looking for all the world like something that shouldn't exist. And yet, there it is, perfectly adapted to a world we can barely visit. Every night, as darkness falls at the surface, something extraordinary happens in the deep. Billions of creatures rise. Lanternfish by the trillions, squid, shrimp, jellyfish, siphonophores, entire populations that spent the day hiding in the twilight zone begin their ascent. They swim upward hundreds of meters towards the surface, towards the plankton that blooms in sunlit waters. Under cover of darkness, they feed, and when dawn approaches, they sink back down, retreating to the safety of the deep before the light makes them visible. This is the diel vertical migration, the largest synchronized movement of animals on the planet. Every single night, billions of tons of biomass rising and falling like the ocean is breathing. All the great migrations you've heard of, wildebeest across the Serengeti, monarch butterflies across North America, caribou across the Arctic, combined, they don't come close. And we had no idea it was happening until 1942. During World War II, U.S. Navy sonar operators detected something impossible, a false floor in the ocean, a layer that reflected sonar, appearing solid, but at depths that couldn't be the seafloor. Stranger still, it moved, deep during the day, shallower at night. For years, it was a mystery. Submarine crews called it the deep scattering layer and couldn't explain it. It wasn't until after the war that scientists realized what they were seeing: life, packed so densely that it registered on sonar, moving as one, following a rhythm older than humanity. The migration is driven by light, or rather the absence of it. Animals track their preferred light level, their isolume, and follow it as it changes through the day. When the sun sets, their isolume rises towards the surface, and they follow. This migration pumps nutrients throughout the ocean. Carbon gets transported downward in the bodies of animals, in their waste, in their deaths. Without the vertical migration, the deep ocean would starve. Lanternfish alone account for an estimated 65% of all fish biomass in the deep sea.
They rise every night to feed, then sink back down, taking the energy they've consumed into the darkness below. It's the heartbeat of the ocean, and it happens every single night, invisible to everyone on the surface.
How do you find a mate in complete darkness? The ocean is vast. The deep is vaster. Animals are spread thin across distances that would take them lifetimes to cross. The chances of two individuals meeting in the endless black are astronomically small. So deep-sea creatures have evolved solutions that are frankly horrifying. The anglerfish is the famous example. The females are the monsters you've seen in pictures, grotesque with massive teeth and that glowing lure dangling in front of their mouths. They're formidable predators. The males? Tiny, parasitic, born with huge nostrils and developed eyes, built specifically for tracking a female's scent in the dark. They can't hunt effectively, they can barely survive on their own. Their entire existence is a countdown. When a male finds a female, he bites onto her body and never lets go. His jaws fuse with her skin, his blood vessels connect to hers, his organs begin to atrophy, eyes, fins, digestive system, all of it, until he's nothing but a lump of tissue attached to her side. A sperm-producing lump, available whenever she needs to fertilize her eggs, nourished by her blood, permanently attached. Some females have been found with multiple males fused to their bodies, 6, 7, 8 males, all reduced to parasitic lumps. It's not romantic, it's efficient. In the impossible vastness of the deep, it works. But the anglerfish isn't the only one making sacrifices for reproduction. The black-eyed squid carries her eggs through the darkness for up to 9 months. 2,000 eggs held in membranous sacs, clutched with clawed hooks, never letting go, not even to feed. As the months pass, she weakens, her muscles waste away, her body deteriorates. Unable to jet away, she becomes an easy target for predators, but she keeps moving, keeps flushing water through the eggs to oxygenate them. If she survives, if she makes it through those final months, her final act is giving her children a chance. In the deep ocean, reproduction isn't casual. It's an investment, a sacrifice, sometimes a transformation so complete that the animal that began the process no longer exists by the end. Everything we've discussed so far depends on one thing: the surface. Marine snow, whale falls, the vertical migration, all of it traces back to sunlight, to the photosynthesis that happens in the upper ocean, the energy that filters down through death and decay. But in 1977, scientists discovered something that rewrote our understanding of life itself: hydrothermal vents. At the bottom of the ocean, where tectonic plates pull apart, superheated water erupts from the sea floor. This water is loaded with chemicals, hydrogen sulfide, methane, dissolved minerals, spewing from Earth's interior at temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius. Around these vents, scientists found thriving ecosystems, giant tube worms with blood-red plumes, massive clams, swarms of shrimp, crabs, fish, entire communities packed around these chemical fountains in total darkness. None of them depend on sunlight. They rely on chemosynthesis. Bacteria in the vent water and inside the bodies of tube worms and clams convert chemical energy into organic matter,
They're doing what plants do on the surface, but with hydrogen sulfide instead of photons. This was revolutionary. For the first time, we'd found life that didn't trace back to the sun, a complete ecosystem powered by the Earth itself. The implications are staggering. If life can thrive on chemical energy in Earth's ocean, could it exist elsewhere? Jupiter's moon Europa has a liquid ocean beneath its frozen surface, warmed by tidal forces. Saturn's moon Enceladus shoots geysers of water into space, water containing organic molecules. The deep ocean might be a preview of alien life. The rules we're learning down there might apply to worlds we'll never visit.
Below 6,000 meters, the ocean enters its final realm, the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the underworld. The trenches are scars on the planet, places where tectonic plates collide and one is forced beneath the other, pulling the seafloor down into V-shaped chasms. The Mariana Trench plunges nearly 11 kilometers. If you dropped Mount Everest into it, the summit would still be more than a mile underwater. The pressure at the bottom exceeds 1,000 atmospheres. For decades, scientists assumed nothing could survive there. They were wrong. Snailfish have been filmed at nearly 8,000 meters, the deepest living fish ever recorded. Pink, gelatinous looking, they seem completely unprepared for their environment, yet there they are. Their bodies lack rigid bones. Their cell membranes are reinforced with unique molecules that keep proteins functioning under impossible pressure. Evolution solved the problem. Life found a way. Amphipods swarm the trench floors in huge numbers, scavenging whatever drifts down. When researchers dropped baited cameras into the Hadal Zone, thousands appeared within hours. And inside their bodies, scientists found something disturbing. Plastic. Microplastic, fibers in the guts of amphipods from the bottom of the Mariana Trench, 7 miles down in the most remote habitat on Earth. Our garbage reaches places we never will. Only 3 people have ever visited the deepest point in the ocean. More humans have walked on the moon. We've mapped the surface of Mars in more detail than our own seafloor. Every expedition to the trenches discovers species unknown to science. Every camera we send down shows us something new. The Hadal Zone is the final frontier, and we've barely begun to explore it. The deep ocean has rules that don't make sense. Light makes you invisible, time slows down, and life exists without the sun. But they're not impossible, just different. We've explored maybe 5% of it, and every dive reveals something new. While we looked up at the stars, wondering if we were alone, an alien world was right here beneath us. We just weren't looking deep enough.